Can Texas go 9-3 and make the playoffs? I kind of was starting this train before the Kentucky game. May have gotten ahead of my skis on that one because then we almost lost to Kentucky and Mississippi State, but we looked better versus Vanderbilt. But Gerald, do you think Texas can make the playoffs at 9-3?
Yes. I think there's a world in which it happens. I think a lot of things have to fall in the right way, but I think ultimately, I think the first thing that it is, it's like who is the loss to, and what does the loss look like? Now, the College Football Playoff Committee really does weigh like strength of wins over strength of losses. So, I think if Texas splits Georgia and A&M, beats Arkansas, I think that's a pretty solid indicator, because that would be now their third top 10. Well, if they beat A&M, it'd be their third top 10 win of the year, right? Georgia's out, I think, just outside of the top 10. So like that would be, again, another top 25 win. There are not many teams on the schedule, on the calendar, in the country that have that resume. And so when you think about strength of win, that's a pretty solid metric, and that leans, I think, in Texas' favor quite significantly. I also think it depends on what the other like 9-3, 10-2 schools are, what their resumes look like. But I think there's a big window in a world where I think you could argue for it and not sound crazy.
No, I completely agree. I actually have some teams written down, and I'll read them to you and let you know if you think Texas has a better resume than them. 9-3, I actually think out of all these teams, we would definitely be in. So Oregon at 10-2 would have losses to Indiana, and then one of the losses would either come to Iowa, USC, and Washington, with beating two of those teams. Do you think Texas has a better resume than that?
I think so.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's I could entertain a debate, but I think Texas, again, I come back to those two top 10 wins right now with a potential third coming.
Well, and that's what I'm just going to include. Like, if Texas is 9-3, they're going to have a win versus Georgia or A&M. I think 3 wins versus Oklahoma. Let's just say Georgia, and then Vanderbilt. I think that's better than a win versus Iowa and USC, or Iowa, Washington, or USC, Washington. Honestly, I just think it 100%. Is. Now, is there a scenario in which, the SEC already has 5 teams in, the Big Ten has 2, and they just throw a bone to the Big Ten to get it to a third team in? Yeah, I could see that. Should it work like that? No. And I'm going to be very interested tomorrow when the rankings come out. And I'm also going to be interested. They're using like their new formula or metrics to determine some things. Yeah. I don't know what that looks like or how they do that. The next team up would be Notre Dame. Their good wins would be USC, Pitt, and Navy. They would have losses to A&M and Miami. I personally think this is still a better resume. Texas has a better resume than that from Notre Dame, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, again, post I guess their like first 3 weeks, they really haven't played a ton of competition. They lost to the 2 best teams they've played this year. Like, that's really the only way around it.
Now, this one's interesting because I know we beat Oklahoma, but honestly, wins-wise, this would be – they have 5, in my opinion, good wins, unless LSU just completely falls off a cliff and finishes 6-6. But Missouri, Bama, Tennessee, Michigan, LSU. I don't even know what they would do here, because I do think they'd have better wins, but we beat them on a neutral field by 17 points. Yeah. What do you think would happen in that situation?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think, again, they're looking at strength of win. And if a win is against a team that you're in a head-to-head with, then I think that makes sense to me, right? Because, by transitive property, Texas beat all of those teams, right? So as we think about it, in my mind, again, I'm biased, right? I've got this here, but like, I think it would make the most sense for Texas because, again, when they played head-to-head, Texas was the better team.
Yeah, the thing that could be interesting here, if Vanderbilt beats Tennessee at the end of the year, that could really help Texas hurt Oklahoma a little bit. So I think that, honestly, like, if you beat a 10-2 Vandy team and Oklahoma beat an 8-4 Tennessee team and Texas beat Oklahoma, I think, honestly, that probably pushes us in. Now, if Tennessee goes on to beat Vandy and then they're both 9-3, that's really going to help Oklahoma look a lot better going on the road, beating a 9-3 Tennessee team. Honestly, that is the closest one so far. There's going to be one other one on here that I think Texas may not get in on when we get there. But the rest of these, to me, I think it's pretty clear. This one's not even close. I just threw it on there. Miami, their loss would be to Louisville. SMU, their best ones would be Pitt and Notre Dame. Texas is in. If Miami's right now 10-2, we go 9-3. This isn't even close. Texas is in over Miami. Yeah,
they're not great. They really are. Like Mario Cristobal and his quarterback situation is just wild. Like they're not good.
It's I mean, I said last year if they didn't make the playoff, I think they should consider firing him. I don't know how much he has to underachieve there for them to keep him. Like you're spending the most money in that conference by a lot. You have the most talent on the roster last 2 years, and you can't make a playoff. I'm not saying win multiple playoff games. I'm saying make a
Just
playoff.
Get in. Just get in.
And I might be the weakest conference. Like ACC might be worse than the Big 12.
It's not great. It's not great for sure. And again, there's a lot to be said about like the virtues of just like getting into the field and getting hot. Ohio State last year, right? They got into the field, they got hot, they won a national championship. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I am saying like getting into the field starts a new season for you.
100%. Next up, Vandy. I think this one's easy too. I think Texas would get in because their losses. Now they have good losses. Texas and Bama if they're 10-2. Missouri, Tennessee, and LSU would be the good wins if they do end up 10-2. But I don't think those are good enough to where it negates the head-to-head. I think Oklahoma is the one where you'd have 5 good wins. That might negate the head-to-head.
Yeah.
You're not negating the head-to-head here with 3 good wins versus 3 good wins.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think the Texas gets in for sure.
This is the one that I think this would be the worst case scenario for Texas, in my opinion, 10-2 teams. That or Oklahoma. Michigan wins versus Ohio State and Washington, lost versus OU and USC. Them beating Ohio State, which looks like the best team right now, them or Indiana, in my opinion, that would be the nightmare scenario for Texas. I think they would get in over Texas at that point.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think in Michigan, I mean, anybody beating Ohio State gets in. Like if Texas beat them, they'd have gotten in too. So for sure, I think Michigan, with what Michigan is now, what that rivalry is, I think they get in for sure.
Next up, Washington. So again, if they ended up 9-2, it'd be a loss to Ohio State and Michigan, wins versus Oregon and Illinois. I think Texas is in here. Washington's they've gotten blown out in those losses, by the way. They got blown out versus Ohio State. They got blown out versus Michigan. I think they lost by a combined 48-13. Texas is getting in over a 10-2 Washington team.
For sure. Yeah. I don't think that Washington team has done much to distract or to build a case for them. Again, Oregon is not the Oregon that we're typically like. A lot of the Oregon hype is just based on historical Oregon features and our assessment of them. So yeah, I think Texas gets in.
Next up, USC, I think, has an interesting case as well. Their loss to Illinois and Notre Dame. The Illinois loss isn't great, but it's better than the Florida loss for Texas, I think, or at least on the same par. Wins Michigan, Iowa, and Oregon. I think, to me, this is a toss-up. I'm not willing to go on either side. I think this is kind of in the OU camp of I could see this going either way. It's not in the Michigan camp where I 100% think Michigan's getting in over Texas. I think this is a toss-up one.
I'm still leaning pretty solidly Texas in this one. I just think as we think of strength of resume, strength of wins, I think Texas's 3 top 10 wins in this scenario would be huge.
This one's interesting, and I think it's the Iowa of it all. This is the last team. Iowa could go 10-2. They really could. They've improved a lot over the past month. Their losses are to Iowa State by 3 and to Indiana by 5. They gave Indiana the closest game, and then their wins would be USC and Oregon. Mm-hmm. I do think Texas gets in, but honestly, they have a lot better case than a lot of the teams I named. People are just going to look over it because the name Iowa. That's all.
It's hard, I think, because you also have to take into account like this is meant to be a TV product, and Iowa doesn't necessarily turn a lot of heads, even though it's ranked properly and it has lined out with what the AP and the BCS would have said in the past. You have to keep that into account. Like we want this to be an enjoyable moment for us. Yeah. So Iowa doesn't bring that to the table as frequently, and I think Iowa is a big helmet scout team where it's like they're a big brand, but like we know what they are, we know what their brand is. It would be so Kirk Ferentz to like continue to just like back his way into this. I think it'd be a great way for him to end his career.
Yeah, so the best case after looking at all these schedules, guys, for Texas to get in, if they go 9-3, Oklahoma lose one more game, Michigan lose to Ohio State, and then Iowa, Washington, Oregon, and USC kind of all play each other in a round robin. They all need to beat each other. If they all beat each other, Texas is going to get in at 9-3. That's what's going to happen. I'm just going to let people know right now if those scenarios happen. And that's if you look at the schedules, it's very likely to happen. Oregon could definitely lose to Iowa this weekend at Kinnick. Would not shock me. And then they would go on the road to USC. USC could beat them. And then Oregon and USC play a week later. Oregon could beat USC. Would not shock me at all. And like I said, OU lose a game, not impossible. They're going to play Alabama on the road. Definitely could happen. Then Ohio State beat Michigan. Texas is going to be in the playoff at 9-3 because that's better than Notre Dame. It's better than Miami, and it's better than Vanderbilt. So I think it's a real possibility. You're muted, Gerald.
I just think you're spot on. Like, I think there is this is why I love and hate the college football playoff conversation. Because they're going to put out the list tomorrow. There's going to be 1,001 think pieces about it. Wasn't Mississippi State in the original college football playoff
number
rankings? 1? Right. So, like, as much as it's like a great conversation, and as much as it's a great, like Sark said it, I think today, like, just win and you're in, right? Win out, win 2 of, even if you win 2 of 3, I think you're in a very, very strong spot. If Texas goes into that A&M game on the last Saturday of the year, I guess it's Friday, right? Black Friday, the last week of the year, with a chance to win and go to the SEC championship and a chance to win and go and kind of solidify themselves as the CFP team, like, that is going to be the most motivated we've ever seen these guys. It is going to be an incredible, like, and we said it, that's the wildest part I think about this whole thing to me, is that we said, you and I both said preseason, like, this could very well be a year where the winner of the Texas A&M game is playing for a spot in the SEC championship game. And a month ago, we buried this team, and we're still very much alive for that possibility. It's wild.
Yeah, and I mean, Texas could win out and still not make the SEC championship game. They'd have to have Ole Miss lose another game. And honestly, I want to win the SEC. I do. But that might not be the worst scenario, that you're sitting at home getting an extra bye week, getting everyone healthy, getting everyone together. So, and watching Ole Miss play probably A&M or Alabama. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but at some point I do want to win the SEC.
Yeah, very true. Like, it's Texas wins out, doesn't go to SEC championship game, they're all but guaranteed a spot.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below and let us know, does Texas get in at 9-3? Why or why not? Who's the team that gets in that I read? Because that's really it, guys. There's no team from the Big 12 at 10-2 that's getting in over Texas. There's no team from the ACC at 10-2 that's getting in over Texas, other than I only put Miami on there because of big brand, but they're not choosing Louisville at 10-2 or Georgia Tech at 10-2 or Virginia at 10-2 over Texas with their schedule. So let me know, out of all these teams that you could see get in over Texas. Please do that.